All right, guys, it's been a while, but quickly wanted to talk to you guys real quick just about Stefon Diggs. What were my thoughts? I know some of you guys were kind of asking me what kind of thought about it. And yeah, if I would have recorded this probably the day that this thing happened, I probably would have been emotional, very, very pissed off, probably go on a rant spew, and I know definitely that would probably draw in a lot more ratings. But since I've kind of calmed down a little bit and I get to see this, it is clear as day the Buffalo Bills are trying to retool. Right? They're trying to retool. And while the rest of the United States of America or whatever NFL fans that there are around the world are going to clown the Buffalo Bills, guys like Nick Wright and guys like Keyshawn Johnson and the rest of these guys out here that are going to clown the Buffalo Bills and saying they're done, their window's closed. Listen, the Buffalo Bills, I think, will still win the division. The Buffalo Bills will be fine. I don't think the Dolphins are better than us, even right now. I don't think the Jets are better than us right now, because we have the best quarterback in the division and we have the best coach in the division. So I think that as far as AFC East contendership goes, we will be fine. Now, as far as Super Bowl goes, like Brandon Beane said yesterday, we are weaker right now without Stefon Diggs. And honestly, when we take a look at the biggest losses of the team, it's Stefon Diggs and it's Leonard Floyd. It's not Tre'Davious White, because Tre'Davious White only played 4 or 5 games in 2 years. He's been kind of a non-factor. Jordan Poyer is not the same Jordan Poyer from a couple years ago. You know, he's been slacking. He is, and again, it's age, right? It's age related. It's understandable. Micah Hyde has been dealing with severe neck injuries and stingers on his neck pretty much for the last 3 years. He's had injury issues. He's getting a lot older. So obviously cutting bait and even getting rid of Gabe, not signing Gabe Davis. It doesn't really hurt the team. You can say it hurts the depth of the team, but it really hasn't hurt the team. What has hurt the team was losing Leonard Floyd, right? Because you're losing a 10-sack guy that's in the prime of his career. That's a big loss. And you're losing, of course, Stefon Diggs. So even though he's 31 years of age, he had a terrible second half of the year, he still is a 1,000-yard receiver. And don't forget that first half of the season, Stefon Diggs was arguably a top 3 receiver in the National Football League. So Stefon Diggs is going to be good. He's going to go to Houston. He's going to do his thing. And for the most part, he's pretty much going to be there for about a 1-year deal. And that's if he decides to leave. So it could be a 1-year deal, and he can go and explore his other options. The Buffalo Bills, when it comes to their second-round value, I thought was, again, what I would love to be 2024, yes. Instead we got a 2025 pick. And what we're going to decide to do is we're going to go ahead now, and we're probably going to go ahead and trade up and get a receiver. We're either going to trade up and get a receiver, or we're going to go ahead and try to trade for a receiver right now that's currently on an NFL team. So that could be a Brandon Ayuk. That could be a T. Higgins. That could potentially, there's been some talk of that. We could even trade for Justin Jefferson. But if we get Justin Jefferson, we're going to have to, it's a haul, right? We're going to trade a haul for Justin Jefferson. And then again, you can play him on his 5th-year option and then try to extend him. Again, there's a lot of things that can happen with Justin Jefferson, but that's a player that obviously is in a lot of talks from Bills fans is, man, well, we got the draft capital to go ahead and get Justin Jefferson if we're going to want to. So we'll see what happens. Now, if you ask me personally, honestly, you can think about trading back and trying to get more draft capital so that you can actually get yourself to some leverage as far as getting getting almost a guaranteed deal for getting a Justin Jefferson or Brandon Ayuk or a T. Higgins. So what you could do is you could try to trade back. You can, again, this is a very stacked receiving class, so you can try to find your receiver 2, maybe not receiving 1, because honestly, I think that there are 3 number 1s in this draft, and they're going to go in the top 12. Other than that, I think you have a bunch of number 2 guys, number 3 guys, even players that will be number 4, and you may have potential number 1s, guys that can fill out, but it's potentially they're going to be number 1, maybe somewhere down the road. But the 3 guys that will be number 1 receivers guaranteed will be Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. It's just about where they go to. And so because of that factor, do you really want to go ahead and say, I can try to go ahead and get an Anai Mitchell. That can be my number 1 threat. I can try to get an Xavier Worthy or an Xavier Leggett, a Troy Franklin, a Lat McConkey. I don't think you do that. So honestly, you could try to go ahead and trade back, try to acquire more draft capital. And again, the Bills got 10 picks now because they traded their fifth and they traded their sixth and their future fifth. But you can try to accumulate more draft capital, especially in the early rounds, you know, by getting like a future second round pick or acquiring maybe a future first or acquiring a future third. Whatever you could do, you could try to accumulate, like you could try to acquire more draft capital, and then you can have more leverage to then try to trade and get that receiver number 1 for your team, while also going ahead and trying to snag a receiver 2 in the second or the third round. So that's what I would do. Because I think past those 3, I don't think that there are number 1 quality receivers in this draft class. And yes, I love Adonai Mitchell. He's more of a T. Higgins type frame player. And I don't think T. Higgins is the number 1 receiver. I think T. Higgins is a great number 2. And that's all I will give him to. I'm not going to put him at that number 1 area. I don't think he's there. So I think Brandon Ayuk is there. I think he's the number 1 receiver right now, and he's been great for San Francisco. That's the player that I would try to trade for, because I don't have to pay him Justin Jefferson money. Yes, do I have to pay him $30-something million? I probably have to pay him $30 million, but I don't think you have to make him the highest paid receiver in order for him to get, in order for you to get him, and play for your team. You still got Curtis Samuel, you got Khalil Shakir, you got Dalton Kincaid, and you have Dawson Knox on your team. So you still have a solid overall kind of receiving roster on your team. And even Matt Collins is a good number 4 receiver. You have a good solid receiving roster. But let's be honest, guys, you still need a number 1 and you need a number 2 receiver. And I don't think you can find the number 1 and number 2 guy solely in this draft class. I think you can find a solid number 2 guy and then try to trade with the capital that you have to get that number 1 player, whether if that's a Jefferson, an Ayuk, or whoever that may be. We've seen weird trades happen. We've seen key trades like acquiring Stephon Diggs, which ultimately Josh Allen was able to benefit for 4 years. So that's what I would personally do. But whatever the case may be, the Buffalo Bills are retooling. It is clear as all hell they are retooling. And I think the more that they can retool and the younger that this team can be, the better off I think the Buffalo Bills can be in the future. I don't think the Bills are winning a Super Bowl this year. I'm just going to come out and flat out and say it. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And Josh Allen, I hate to say it, but I think the best chance for us to compete is when he's 29 years of age, and next offseason when we have a lot more money that's freed up, and we can create more restructure and more space, and we can go out there and we can potentially go on a free agent frenzy next season and really build a Super Bowl championship contender the following season. But do I think that this team's still good enough to win the division, at least get into the playoffs? Absolutely. The Jets don't scare me. The Patriots don't scare me. The Dolphins definitely don't scare me. So, but obviously taking those first steps as far as retooling your roster is going to be big. And the fact of the matter is, guys, that yes, we have some other needs on defense, but offensive line should be good. Your running game should be good. And I think they can add to some of that in the draft by getting an RB2. But overall wise, for the most part, guys, finding that receiver number 1 and number 2, whether if it's in free agency, whether if that's trading for one or in the draft, that's pivotal for the Buffalo Bills' success, not just for this season, but for arguably the next 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4 years plus, and when Josh Allen is still in his prime.